Today I am here to present a new little piece in a series I think I'm starting called Confident, Courageous, and Clear. And today I'm going to be talking about stepping out of your comfort zone. Now, I'm Cheri Dixon, and I have just started a life coaching and consulting side business called A Girl and Her Dog. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit in just a few minutes. So I love a good quote. And this one really stood out to me. It's from somebody unknown to me, but the originator is Marl Manson. At first I thought Marilyn Manson because I am a hard rock kind of girl, but it's not Marilyn Manson, it's Marl Manson. And it goes like this. Bravery is not the absence of fear. Bravery is feeling the fear, the doubt, the insecurity, and deciding that something else is more important. About 10 years ago, I decided to quit my job and move to a new city where I knew nobody, had no connections, and I thought I could start a new life. Now, what I didn't tell you is that I had gone through a divorce a few years prior. I was probably running away from the life that I was living at the time. And in the moment, I felt that maybe it was time to get closer to my family, but I'm not real close with them. So I didn't want to be right on top of them and go back to my hometown. I had been working in public education for about 18 years at that point, made many connections, accomplished many things, and I had all of my closest friends and colleagues near me. As I was getting ready for the move, one of my friends did say to me, "You are the bravest person I know." And I responded and said, "Girl, I'm the craziest person you know, because who leaves all of that behind, right?" But after stopping to reflect on that, I really was being brave. And ultimately, what did I have to lose? I could always go back if it didn't work. But if I hadn't gone, I knew I would always wonder what would have happened if I had later in my life. So as I mentioned, I am Cheri Dixon. I am currently a public school educator, and right now I am an elementary principal. I am seeing the light and turning to life coaching and educational consulting. My mission is to help 5,000 women build a life they love to wake up to each day. After 28 years now in education, helping students and teachers grow to be their best, I decided to take a leap of faith, get some additional training, and start my business, A Girl and Her Dog Coaching and Consulting. You may ask, why a girl and her dog? Well, as I was going through all of these major life changes, I found this amazing companion who became not only my comfort, but he's my rock. Oakley, I call him the brown dog, helped me get through a lot of things in life that I know I would not have had the courage to do without him. I'm also a mom. I have an amazing 32-year-old daughter, and I take a lot of pride in our strong relationship and guiding and teaching her how to become the strong, successful woman she is today. I envision that one day I will be the coach and consultant that can see that the world will see as a trusted authority who can get our clients amazing results while supporting, teaching, and guiding them along the way. I am here today with this amazing group of women to help you during this holiday season. We were in a mastermind together a few weeks ago, talking about our best-selling book, Unleash Her, and how much impact we knew we wanted to have on women all over the world. Each of us, as we mentioned before, bring a different perspective, different experiences, and different knowledge to you today. But ultimately, we are here to empower you to live your best life. I am in awe being a part of this team. They are amazing. And I know you will learn great things if you already haven't today. So as I mentioned before, I have been called brave a few times in my life. Looking back on each experience, I must admit, I am pretty proud of how I did not just give up in life. I didn't let circumstances determine my future, and I made a life I love to live. Life certainly has not been perfect for me. And as we all know, we all have our good days and our challenges. But being confident in your abilities, courageous enough to face these challenges, and clear on what you want in life will set you on a path of success as well. So let me get started. I knew I was going to be a teacher at 6 years old. Teachers were my superheroes. My parents were young and learning how to become adults themselves when I was a child. Once I started school, I found myself spending a lot of extra time with my teachers, especially when my mom would forget to pick me up at the end of the day or when I was just avoiding going home. My teachers may have felt sorry for me, or maybe they saw something special in me. I'm not 100% sure, but they ensured that I had a snack after school, was cared for and not left alone, and built my love of learning. They allowed me to play school. I think I actually taught them something every once in a while. Each afternoon, I was left behind. They were a huge influence in who I am today. And I knew at this young age, I wanted to pay it forward and be that person for other children in the future. I saw it as my way to impact the world. So I finished high school with big plans for my future, like so many of us. I was off to a very prestigious private college on a scholarship for music. And I was not only going to get my teaching degree, but I was going to get involved in all of the college activities so that my resume would not only impress the best school districts, but have proof that as I grew in my career, my leadership in the world would help make any system better for having me on their team. But to my surprise, I discovered I had to make my first pivot in life, as I found myself becoming a teenage mom and learning to care for another human at this young age, almost just like my parents. Remembering those challenges in my own upbringing, I vowed that I would not let my daughter experience a life like mine. So instead of just allowing circumstances to determine our future, I found a way to continue my college education, be a strong woman role model for my daughter, and make my childhood goals and dreams come true. It just so happened that one of my teachers and mentors in life was one of my college professors, and she pushed me to be who I wanted to be, not giving up and reminding me that it takes a brave woman to do what I was doing. And because of her wise words, I soon got my first teaching position, yay, and was making an impact in the world. Although I think I ruined my first set of kids. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm sure I didn't, but in my mind, I'm sure I did. And so I really had to work hard those next years to make up for that. So just saying. Life in the world of education has always been a challenge, but also so fulfilling. And as I mentioned about CJ being in her calling, I also call education a calling, not a job. Because unless you know why you sign up for it and put the endless hours into it, and also sometimes find that you put your own family and definitely your personal time aside to ensure your students, and now my staff as the school leader, have your best each and every day. I found that moving into leadership roles presented challenges that I had to accomplish, but I was able to do so because I had the confidence, courage, and clarity to know that this was how I could have an even greater impact on the world and make it a better place in the end. I have spent the last 16 years leading schools as the principal, which has led me to giving up a lot of myself to be the solid, trusted, and respected leader that I set out to be. But at the age of 50, I realized that life is very short, and I had not given myself the love and care to live life in a way that puts my needs as a priority. One of my closest friends' husbands passed away very unexpectedly. And at the moment I heard the news, I knew that I needed to make a change in my own life. I knew at that time I was important in the world of education, but Cheri Dixon, the woman, was also important and deserved to live a life she wanted to wake up to each day. I needed to experience life in a way so that when I found myself living my last days, I would not have the regrets that I wished I would have lived in all aspects of life. So I decided to make a pivot once again. And this one completely took me out of my comfort zone. Here's the thing. As an educator, you always know when you're going to get paid. You'll always know how much you're going to get paid, and you will have benefits afforded to you. As an educator, we all know that we will always be in demand. And we learned quickly during COVID that computers cannot teach children effectively. As an educator, we are needed, necessary, and I'm promising you, this was my comfort zone. I make a good salary. I work very hard, but I can also afford to live a very comfortable life as a single woman, and that says a lot. So as I was beginning to feel these feelings, I was once again wondering if I was being a bit crazy. Because who gives up a six-figure salary, benefits, and job stability to become a life coach? And who really even knows what a life coach is anyway, right? I mean, we all do sitting here on this call today, but it's very unknown. And not only is that unknown, but starting your own business also means a lot of unknowns, instability, and possibly even more stress than education. And I have not even mentioned my fear of failing, especially as a single woman. I need to rely on myself to meet all of life responsibilities. And that makes this scary. And of course, these were all questions and thoughts that went round and round and round in my own head every single day. However, in true Cheri Dixon style, one day I woke up and I decided it was time to stop worrying, stop focusing on everything that could go wrong, to stop believing that I was too old to make a change, and to start believing that, as I had proven for years, I can make things happen. If I want something badly enough, I will find a way to get it. And as I had done many times in my life, I knew how to develop a goal, make a plan, and persevere until I made it happen, even when times were tough. And I knew this is when I was stepping out of my comfort zone and was empowered to live my best life. Change is hard. Staying the same is hard. I just truly believe that you have to pick your hard. And if you plan things out, are clear on your goals, and take each step one at a time, the hard really is not so hard. Getting to the realization that I was stepping out of that comfort zone was hard, real hard. But here's how I did it. First, I realized that I could do things perfectly imperfect. This might sound silly, but as a type A high achiever, I'm sure it won't surprise anyone that for years I was a perfectionist. I think I thought that if I were perfect, people in my world would love me unconditionally. As I grew and matured in life, I realized that not only was this making my own life miserable, but it was putting unrealistic expectations on others as well. I needed to love myself unconditionally first, and it had nothing to do with being perfect. So, starting something unfamiliar, even when you are not the best, not prepared, and sometimes have no idea what you're doing, is what made me realize that I can do hard things. And the more you do these hard things, the better you get at them. Isn't that kind of funny how that works? Small steps are also very important. I'm also a runner, and in years past, I've had many friends and colleagues ask me for advice. They'd ask me how to get a workout plan started. I emphasize how important it is for them to start slow. Now, I was a PE major before I became an elementary teacher, and so I've had all of this training, and I know the philosophy behind how you build yourself up to do your best work, excuse me, as an athlete. And as you are beginning from nothing, you can't expect to run a marathon by the end of your first workout. That's an impossible goal, and it will make you end up quitting and hating the whole experience. However, small steps will get you to your goal, kind of like the tortoise and the hare story. Slow and steady wins the race. So determining my small steps in order to prepare and make this happen was very important to me. Not only does it allow me to celebrate along the way, but that big goal becomes much more doable. And remembering to celebrate every win is crucial. As you plan for accomplishing a goal, I always tell myself and my clients to set celebration milestones along the path and celebrate the wins, no matter how large or small. I have learned to find a small win in each day and celebrate it in some way. I find the best celebration is just the self-talk I do with myself. And it goes a little bit like this. Look at what you did today. This is one thing you could not have done before. And not only that, but you also didn't suck at it. If you keep on your path, you're going to actually make this happen. And just think about how proud you're going to be when you do. Good job, girl. I am proud of you. However, you are not just here today to hear my story, although I think it's a pretty good one. I expect that you are here today because you are struggling with making a decision on making a change. I suspect that you are here because you want to know how to step out of your comfort zone and do something different in your own life, even when you are afraid of failing or just afraid of taking the first step. You are here because I believe you want to live your best life, and you just need that little extra nudge to make it happen. Well, that is great news because I am here to not only share my story so that you know it can actually be done, especially if this little girl right here from small town Iowa, who grew up in sometimes not the greatest conditions, can do it, then there are ways you can do it too. I have a plan for you. So here are my 3 proven strategies to give you that push you need, that confidence you know you have, and to feel confident that you can make your goals and dreams come true, even when you are afraid. First thing you have to do is you have to believe in yourself and shut out the noise. This is one of my most important skills I teach my clients, also my teachers, as this is just what I had to do. I grew up very, very shy, and very unsure of myself for many, many years. I was one of the first ones in my family to graduate from college and actually live a life that I wanted to live. But when you are the exception and may not have always had the encouragement to be different than the rest of your family, you begin to wonder if you can actually make something big happen. In my case, I had people in my ear all of the time telling me that I should not leave the comfort of my small town to get my first teaching job, because when I do something big, I go big. I went from small town Iowa with 20,000 people to Houston, Texas with almost 5 million people. So go big or go home, right? I had people tell me that I wasn't being fair to my family for taking my daughter so far away. I had people telling me that I didn't need to go back to school and get my master's degree and move into administrative roles, and I was putting my family second to my own selfish desires. I had people tell me that they were just not sure that I would have a successful career. And I had people very close to me tell me I was just not good enough in so many areas of my life. It wasn't until I shut out that noise, knew that I was worthy and a value to the world, and learned to love myself unconditionally so that I could make my own needs a priority, that I found myself sure enough to make this pivot and to step out of my comfort zone. Was this easy? No. Did I lose some connections along the way? Absolutely. But today I can tell you, I am living a life that I created, a life that I feel very proud of, and a life that puts not only my needs first, but still has a huge impact on others so that the world can be a better place. Isn't that what you want? But more importantly, isn't that what we would want for our own daughter, sister, or our own mother? We are definitely worth it. It's not being selfish, and you are good enough to make it happen. You just need to have the right goals, the right plans, and the right support to get you there. The next thing I had to do is start before you are ready. I believe that we should all be lifelong learners. I'm an educator, of course, and if I ever stop learning, I hope it's because I'm about to end my life. No one is ever ready. No one is ever knowledgeable enough before they start something big. This can be in life, business, it can just be a career change or a promotion. But knowing that it's okay gives us all the grace we need to get started, to just try, to see if something works or not, and then we pivot if we need. Isn't this one of the greatest things about the planet we live on? We cannot control what comes our way, right? But we can control how we show up, the steps we take in life to make our own dreams come true. I mentioned earlier that change is hard, but staying the same and being miserable is hard too. We just have to decide which kind of hard do we want to live. And here is the best part. If you mess up, you learn from it. But if you never try, you'll never know if you could have accomplished it in the first place. And then you have to live with that regret. Finally, I say, determine your why and never lose sight of it. In addition to my first strategy, this one right here is my most important. What is your why? I remind myself about this every day. Knowing why you are doing something, why you are showing up as you, is so, so important. It gives us all purpose in life. And without purpose, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter how great we are. It will not have meaning. So what is my why for changing my life like this? For giving up on all I have now in my career? Surprisingly, I have been asked this by colleagues recently. Actually, this week, someone asked me why I was doing this. And this is what I tell them. I want to be known as a trusted, respected leader in the world who continually had an impact on others, which will in turn make the world a better place. I want to share my journey in life, highlighting all of my ups and downs and how I conquered them all so that I could be successful as a single woman. I want to empower women to make decisions for themselves, design a roadmap for their future, and become the woman that lives unapologetically so that she can find her voice and create a life on her own terms. I want to do this while still supporting teachers, schools, and districts by helping them believe in the world of education, believe in the power they have on the world, and believe that making a difference in the lives of children will not only better that child, but the entire world in the process. I want to be the light in the world that supports everyone to live their best life. So I ask you, do you know your why? Have you taken time to really dig deep inside of you and determine your purpose for all you want to accomplish in life? This is such an important step in the change process, no matter what change it is you are encountering. And not just knowing your why, but reminding yourself of this each and every day, the good days and the challenging days, so that you can stay on course to living your best life. Now, I will tell you that this new business is just my side hustle for right now. I'm still an educator and I do love it every single day. But I am so lit up by how much impact I know that my work with women is going to have on the world. Already, I've been working with a few people in my coaching packages. And also, I just am releasing a brand new course. Again, this whole Confident, Courageous, and Clear series just really has resonated with me. And so my newest course is learning to live life on your own terms. And in this course, it's a 4-month course, and we really do dig deep. And as a true educator, I'm so proud of just the work, being able to design curriculum and teach in a way that keeps people engaged and involved. My course each month has a different theme. We start with our own image of ourselves and digging deep into who we are, who we want to be. Then we move into month number 2, which is all about our health and wellness, and not just our physical health, but our social health, our emotional health, and just that whole healthy living and lifestyle. Month number 3, we talk about goal setting and what do we want to accomplish in our life, how we get there, and then how we celebrate along the way. And then finally, we wrap up with just determining where do we go from there? What are our next steps? How do we let other people know our boundaries? How do we set those boundaries? How do we live with the regret? Because we can't change our past, right? We can only move forward. And so I'm super excited about that course, not only about those types of things going on, but I have a podcast and it was really, really bad when I first started. It was my first stepping out of the comfort zone. You can listen to it and you'll be like, girl, you suck. And I would be like, yep, you're right. But it's gotten so much better and I'm just so proud of it. My blogs probably at first really sucked as well, but they're getting better. And I'm just so proud of the fact that I was able to be part of this book because it just landed into my lap. And who would have known? And I'll be honest, when I tell you all, I didn't know where I was going to eat most days growing up. I didn't know where I was going to sleep many days growing up. And standing in the free lunch line as a senior in high school, I knew that I needed something different for my world. And to be able to do that and be where I'm at, it took a lot of courage and it took a lot of stepping out of your comfort zone, but it can be done. And the way I have been able to learn how to teach others, I can help you do it too.